Man, let me tell y'all something real quick. This ain't just another rap story, this is straight up Memphis versus Atlanta heat, a clash of kings in the trap game, and everybody feeling the tension from the streets to the charts. Yo Gotti, the Memphis Don, the kingpin with the hustle running through his veins, always moving in silence but hitting loud when he gotta. On the other side, Gucci Mane, the Atlanta legend, the pioneer who put the trap on the map, known for dropping hits, running his city, and never backing down from a challenge. When these two heavyweights get involved, it ain't just bars and beats. It's respect, money, influence, and pride all wrapped up in one explosive package. This beef? It ain't overnight. Nah, it been building for years under the radar, in the streets, behind closed doors, in the music, and in the subtle digs that only true heads can catch. From collabs gone wrong to missed respect, to side eyes in interviews, this tension simmered until it couldn't stay bottled no more. Fans? They divided. Streets? They watching. The industry? They feeling the tremors. And when you start connecting the dots between mixtape shots, social media jabs, and personal moves, you realize this ain't just a simple rap feud, this is a full-blown saga with stakes higher than just a diss track. And the crazy part? Both these men built empires from the ground up, grinding every day, but now that pride and territory is in play, alliances shift, secrets spill, and every move could tip the scale. This ain't just music drama, this is survival, legacy, and street politics all tangled up. By the time this story unfolds, you're gonna see sides of Yo Gotti and Gucci Mane most folks never thought existed, and why this beef got everybody talking from Memphis to Atlanta and everywhere in between. Yo, the streets been watching this from the jump, feel me? Memphis and Atlanta been talking in whispers, throwing looks and moving pieces like a chess game, but the chessboard ain't no game when it's real lives and respect on the line. Yo Gotti, he been holding Memphis down since day one. Dude grew up in the trenches, learned early that loyalty don't come cheap, and trust is worth more than a brick. Every move he made, every run he did in the streets and on the charts, he was building a legacy. And Gucci Mane? Atlanta made him a star, but the streets molded him. Brick Squad, the early trap hits, running the city, Gucci was the blueprint for a generation, a man who turned hustle into art. When you got two dudes like that, both fighting for respect, it ain't no surprise tension sparks. It started small at first, subtle digs here and there. Maybe it was a verse that sounded too familiar, maybe a look in an interview that said more than words ever could. People think beef just pops off overnight, but nah, it's layers, slow burn, simmering, until it blow. Yo Gotti had been grinding, building CMG into a powerhouse, flipping every situation, connecting with artists, making moves in the industry while keeping his street cred intact. Gucci, he ain't no stranger to loyalty or betrayal either. Dude been through the ups and downs, played the game smart, and never let nobody disrespect him publicly without a response. That pride, that ego, that legacy. Once it's challenged, there's no backing down. The first real sparks? It was subtle, but the heads in the streets caught it. Yo Gotti dropped a line in an interview talking about respect in the streets, throwing shade at artists who claim their city but don't live it. Gucci Mane, known for hearing everything, caught wind, and let's just say he wasn't pleased. Social media started buzzing, fans picking sides, comment sections lighting up with screenshots and clips. The industry noticed too. Labels, promoters, even other artists starting to feel the pressure, trying to figure out if this beef was just chatter or something deeper. And deep it was. It wasn't just personal pride at stake, it was territory, influence, and the perception of power. Yo Gotti moving through Memphis, running shows, connecting with the streets, making sure everyone knew CMG wasn't just a label, it was a dynasty. Gucci Mane moving through Atlanta, same energy, same hustle. Both cities know what these dudes represent. Both cities know when it comes to street respect, neither of them backs down. That's why this beef got real attention. It wasn't gossip, it was reality. And in the streets, reality don't need witnesses, it's just felt. People in the industry started bringing up past history too. Yo Gotti and Gucci Mane had crossed paths before, in collabs that never fully materialized, in mutual friends who had their own agendas, and in situations where a handshake turned into side-eye. That's the kind of tension that ain't fixed by a post or a verse. It's the kind of tension that creeps up slow, builds a wall between two kings, and makes the streets anticipate the inevitable clash. Meanwhile, the music kept reflecting it. Yo Gotti put subtle jabs in tracks, lines about loyalty, respect, and claiming what's yours. Fans started analyzing every lyric, every video, every social post, looking for clues. Gucci Mane, never one to shy away, responded in his own way, throwing references to his city, his grind, and his history. It became a war of words, but it wasn't just about bars, it was about reputation. The streets know when a king speaks, every word carries weight, and no one wants to be seen as weak in front of the people who built you. Then came the social media era, everything went public. Screenshots, leaks, fans starting to debate, and rumors spreading like wildfire. One wrong post, one comment, and the streets go wild. Yo Gotti fans claim Gucci snubbed Memphis. Gucci fans claim Yo Gotti disrespect Atlanta. It's a tug of war, and the tension? It's real. Both sides making sure their position is clear, but without crossing that line too soon, because in the streets, one wrong move can turn respect into a target. But it wasn't all ego and pride. Money played a role too. Both these dudes built empires, and when you got money and influence, every move gets magnified. Business deals, partnerships, label negotiations, and even show bookings started reflecting the tension. People started to skin, who's really in control? Who's making the bigger moves? And that's the kind of question that fuels a beef deeper than any diss track ever could. It's about dominance, legacy, and showing the world who's really running the streets in the game. Behind the scenes, both camps were trying to navigate it smart. Yo Gotti's team loyal and strategic, making sure moves were calculated, that nothing leaked to hurt his image. Gucci Mane's camp, same energy, making sure every action reflected his history and his reputation. But here's the thing. No matter how careful you are, when two kings like this collide, chaos finds a way. Rumors start, interpretations differ, and suddenly, everybody from the fan on the block to the exec in the boardroom gets involved. Even the media started picking up on it. Blogs, street sites, YouTube commentators, all dissecting every move, trying to turn a simmering feud into headlines. But the streets know, it ain't the blogs, it ain't the videos, it ain't the comments. It's real life, it's respect, it's pride. And that's why Yo Gotti vs Gucci Mane became a story that everyone from Memphis to Atlanta felt in their own way. It wasn't just about music, it was about identity, influence, and survival in the game that don't forgive mistakes. And through all this, both men kept pushing. Yo Gotti, silent moves, dropping tracks, making money, solidifying his legacy. Gucci Mane, same thing, but with Atlanta flavor, hitting harder, making sure everyone remembers the blueprint he laid down for the trap game. Each move, each line, each post became another chapter in a saga that streets were living daily. By the time the first real public exchange happened, people already knew the stakes. It wasn't about clout, it was history, pride, empire, and street loyalty all wrapped up in one. And that's the kind of tension that don't fade. Memphis and Atlanta? Both cities watching. The streets? Divided but alert. Fans? Picking sides and analyzing every lyric. And the industry? Wondering how it's all gonna unfold. One thing's for sure, when Yo Gotti and Gucci Mane collide, the fallout ain't just music. It's life in the streets, and nobody plays safe. And this is only the beginning. The streets know it. The fans know it. And by the time the next moves drop, everyone gonna see just how deep this beef really goes. Ain't no turning back once respect and pride get involved. This is Yo Gotti vs Gucci Mane, and the saga? It just started heating up. After the streets felt the first tremors, things started getting messy in ways nobody could ignore. Social media was blowing up, fans running wild with theories, screenshots, and clips of old interviews. Every time Yo Gotti posted, some folks saw it as a subtle shot. Every time Gucci Mane moved or posted, people assumed it was a counter. The digital streets became just as heated as the real ones, and now it wasn't just Memphis and Atlanta, it was worldwide. Everyone wanted to know, who got the upper hand? Who's really running the game? But the truth? It was deeper than that. This beef wasn't just online, it was embedded in loyalty, in business, in street code. Yo Gotti, he ain't the type to respond publicly to every little jab. Dude's smart, calculating. But when the pressure built and fans started challenging his legacy, he made moves. Behind the scenes, he was connecting with his people, strengthening alliances, making sure CMG was untouchable. Shows, tours, collaborations, and strategic moves all became chess pieces in a war nobody outside the streets fully understood. Gucci Mane? Same energy. Dude been in the game long enough to know how to handle the heat without burning himself. He got his own network, his own hitters, his own way of moving silently but loud enough that the streets felt it. And then came the music. Yo Gotti started dropping tracks that carried subliminals, lines that only true heads would catch. Every verse hit with precision, throwing subtle shots, claiming territory without saying a name. Fans dissected every bar, trying to decode the meaning. Gucci Mane, never one to sit back, responded in kind. His music dropped with references, subtle or blatant, reminding everyone who paved the way in Atlanta, who built the blueprint for trap music. It became a war of words, a back and forth that elevated the beef from gossip to full-on cultural event. But music wasn't the only battlefield. The business side of this beef started heating up. Both men running empires, deals in motion, artists under contract. Everything felt the tension. Who would get the features first? Who would dominate the streaming charts? Even tours and shows became political. Promoters had to navigate carefully because booking the wrong artist could spark drama, and that could hit the streets fast. Everyone in the industry felt the weight, from small-time DJs to big executives. A simple handshake in a studio could turn into suspicion. Alliances started shifting and people started to skin. Who's really loyal? The streets, of course, weren't sleeping. Memphis heads knew Yo Gotti's history, his loyalty, his rise from nothing. Atlanta heads knew Gucci Mane's legacy, the way he carried the city, the influence he had over a generation of artists. And when two kings like that clash, it ain't just music. It's pride, it's territory, it's respect that can't be bought. Rumors started swirling, stories about old grudges, missed respect, and even alleged run-ins at events. People started to skin, if there was more than just music behind this beef. Some whispered about financial moves, about who controlled the streets in the game. And let's talk about alliances. Yo Gotti got his camp solid, people who've been with him for years, loyal to the bone. They know when to speak, when to stay quiet, and how to move without drawing heat too early. Gucci Mane, same thing. His circle tight, veterans of the trap game, people who understand the stakes. When these two sides start operating, at that level, even a small action becomes magnified. Every show, every post, every collaboration got eyes on it. A handshake or a glance could start rumors, and the streets loved that drama. Then came the confrontations that made the beef more than a music story. It wasn't physical violence yet, but the tension in public spaces? Palpable. Cameras caught side eyes at award shows, mentions in interviews that had fans jumping to conclusions, and subtle digs in video shoots. Media outlets, of course, amplified everything. Blogs ran headlines, street sites dissected every moment, and YouTube commentators broke it all down like it was a crime scene. But the real story? The streets felt it first, and the streets don't lie. Yo Gotti also started using influence strategically. Deals, partnerships, investments, everything tied back to respect and power. When people start messing with him, it wasn't just pride at stake, it was business. Gucci Mane? Same approach. Both men knew that showing weakness could cost more than just respect. It could cost money, influence, and legacy. And in the trap game, legacy lasts longer than fame. Money comes and goes, but respect and history? That stays forever. One of the wildest things about this beef? It wasn't always loud. Some of the shots were so subtle, only the real heads would notice. A line in a song, a caption on social media, an interview clip. But the meaning was clear to anyone paying attention. Memphis versus Atlanta. CMG versus Gucci. Respect versus legacy. And the more subtle it got, the more the fans and streets obsessed over it. That's how a beef goes from rumor to cultural event. Attention, analysis, and anticipation. And the real danger? Misinterpretation. When two legends like this operate in the public eye, people twist words, exaggerate actions, and create stories that weren't even real. That's how street beefs escalate. Fans pick sides, media blows smoke, and the energy becomes toxic fast. One wrong comment, one leaked clip, and suddenly what started as respect issues turns into full-blown confrontation. That's the game Yo Gotti and Gucci Mane knew they were playing. It wasn't just bars and music, it was survival, reputation, and showing who's really king. But even with all the tension, both men kept moving. Yo Gotti focused on CMG, dropping hits, supporting his city, and making strategic moves that reminded everybody why he was the Memphis Don. Gucci Mane, same energy, reminded Atlanta and the world why he was a pioneer, a legend, and someone who built an empire from the mud. Every track, every move, every post became a message, a reminder, a statement. The streets got the subliminals, and the fans? They went crazy trying to decode it all. And in the midst of this, alliances shifted. Artists, producers, even influencers had to pick sides or risk getting caught in the crossfire. Some stayed neutral, but neutrality sometimes looks like disrespect in a war like this. Every handshake, every collab, every social post became a chess move, and both Yo Gotti and Gucci Mane were masters at the game. That's why this beef felt bigger than music. It was strategy, pride, and survival intertwined. The music hits harder, the streets talk louder, and every move has consequences. Memphis and Atlanta aren't just watching, they're invested. Fans are obsessed. And the industry? Still trying to figure out how two kings can clash without someone getting burned. But the truth? When pride, respect, money and legacy mix, there's no containing the fire. Yo Gotti vs Gucci Mane is more than a feud, it's a saga, and the streets know the next chapter is about to get even hotter. By the time the third wave of this beef hit, it wasn't just Memphis versus Atlanta no more. It was everywhere. The streets were talking, the fans were debating, and even artists outside the cities were weighing in. Yo Gotti and Gucci Mane, both legends in their own right, had reached a point where every move, every post, every track drop could spark a reaction. It wasn't just pride or ego at stake anymore. It was reputation, legacy, and respect in a game that don't forgive slip-ups. Both these men understood that, which is why the intensity kept rising. Yo Gotti, always strategic, started flexing his empire moves in ways that were subtle but deadly. New artists, partnerships, CMG signings, it was all part of the play. Fans noticed, skeptics noticed, and even Gucci Mane couldn't ignore it. But Yo Gotti ain't one to throw his weight around unnecessarily. Dude let his work speak while letting the streets feel the power shift. Every tour, every feature, every social media post carried weight. And in the streets, weight equals respect. Gucci Mane, on the flip, never slept. Dude knew what Yo Gotti was doing, and he had his own moves ready. Atlanta, Brick Squad, and the network he built over decades, all part of the equation. Gucci wasn't just responding to jabs, he was making statements showing that his legacy was untouchable and his influence still strong. Every track he dropped, every interview he gave, it wasn't just music, it was strategy. And the streets? They were analyzing every syllable, every beat, every line for hidden meanings. Now the beef started creep into real-life situations. Public appearances, award shows, even casual events became tense. Cameras caught moments that fans would replay thousands of times looking for signs. Side eyes, subtle gestures, and offhand comments became ammunition. The media amplified every little detail, turning small moments into viral headlines. But the streets always knew the truth. It wasn't the blogs or YouTube videos, it was what the heads in Memphis and Atlanta were seeing firsthand. And the tension? It kept rising. The music scene itself became a battlefield. Yo Gotti's tracks were loaded with subliminal shots, lines about loyalty, respect, and talking, what's yours? Gucci Mane fired back with his own lyrical fire, reminding the streets why Atlanta and the trap game owe him respect. It wasn't always direct, but the meaning was clear to anyone paying attention. Fans broke down lyrics, compared lines, and debated over who was really hitting harder. It became a lyrical chess match, and both men played it like masters. And you gotta understand, the money and business side made it more than just music. Both men had investments, artists under contract, and industry power moves. Every track, post, and public appearance had implications for deals and influence. Promoters, labels, and other artists were forced to navigate carefully. One wrong move, one perceived slight, and the beef could escalate in ways nobody wanted. That's how street politics mixes with the music business, and both Yo Gotti and Gucci Mane knew the stakes. Fans started picking sides more openly. Memphis versus Atlanta debates flooded social media. Comment sections were battlegrounds. Everyone had an opinion, everyone had a theory. Some believed Yo Gotti had the edge, others said Gucci Mane's legacy couldn't be touched. But in the streets, it wasn't about opinion, it was about observation. Those who lived the grind, who understood loyalty and respect, knew there was a deeper layer to the beef that most outsiders would never see. Behind the scenes, things got tense within their camps too. Loyalty tested, alliances questioned. Yo Gotti's team, always tight, had to make sure nobody slipped up. Gucci Mane's circle, experienced and street smart, did the same. Every handshake, every collab, every meeting had eyes on it. One mistake could be interpreted as disrespect, and in a situation like this, disrespect is dangerous. That's why both sides moved carefully but calculated, always thinking 3 steps ahead. Rumors of collaborations gone wrong and old grudges resurfaced, adding fuel to the fire. Stories about past missed respect, personal slights, and alleged incidents started circulating. Some of it true, some exaggerated, but in a beef like this, perception often matters more than reality. The streets, always aware, added their own twist to every story. And the media? They ate it up, turning every whisper into a headline. By now, the feud wasn't just between two men, it was a cultural event, dissected by fans, critics, and anyone with an opinion. Both Yo Gotti and Gucci Mane also understood the art of patience. They knew that reacting too soon could make them look weak, but waiting too long could be interpreted as hesitation. It's a delicate balance, one that requires instinct, experience, and an understanding of the streets. And that's exactly what both men had. Every move was calculated, every response timed perfectly, and every track released strategically. They weren't just making music, they were playing a high-stakes game where every misstep could have consequences. The streets also started watching how other artists reacted. Who would side with Yo Gotti? Who would show loyalty to Gucci Mane? Even the artists not directly involved had to navigate carefully. One post, one comment, one collab could be seen as a declaration. That's how far-reaching this beef had become. It wasn't just Memphis and Atlanta anymore, it was the whole industry feeling the tension. And the fans? Obsessed. They broke down every lyric, every Instagram story, every interview. They argued, they debated, they created compilations of potential subliminals. For them, it wasn't just entertainment, it was history in the making. They knew this beef wasn't a temporary headline, it was a saga that could define an era. The energy online mirrored the tension in the streets, creating a pressure cooker atmosphere that kept the anticipation high. At the same time, Yo Gotti and Gucci Mane kept grinding. Yo Gotti focused on his empire, expanding CMG, dropping hits, and making sure his influence stayed strong. Gucci Mane, same approach, constantly reminding the streets why he's a legend. Every move reinforced their position, strengthened their legacy, and kept the streets invested. That's why, even as rumors, social media wars, and subliminal tracks flew, the core of the beef remained rooted in respect, pride, and survival. The energy between Yo Gotti and Gucci Mane had reached a new level. It wasn't just music or social media anymore. This beef had seeped into every corner of the streets, into every block where people felt loyalty and pride as heavy as brick. The tension was like electricity crackling in the air, and everybody from Memphis to Atlanta could feel it. Yo Gotti and Gucci Mane weren't just two artists at odds. They were symbols of their cities, their empires, and their legacies. And when symbols clash, it's never small. Yo Gotti has always moved like a general. Quiet, calculating, strategic. CMG was more than a label, it was a fortress, and he made sure it stayed that way. Every new signing, every move in the studio, every collab had a purpose beyond the music. It was about sending a message. Memphis is solid, loyal, and nobody disrespects its king. Gucci Mane, on the other hand, had built Atlanta into a kingdom. Brick Squad, his solo legacy, every artist he influenced, they all made sure the streets knew Atlanta's king wasn't going down without a fight. The clash wasn't just about ego, it was about proving who controlled the streets and whose empire carried more weight. The music itself became more strategic, more calculated, more loaded with subliminals than ever. Yo Gotti's tracks hit hard, sometimes subtle, sometimes aggressive, reminding listeners that respect isn't given, it's earned. Gucci Mane fired back with lyrics dripping in Atlanta pride, lines that reminded the world why he's a pioneer, why his blueprint for trap culture is untouchable. Fans dissected every verse like detectives, analyzing every bar, every inflection, every feature for hidden meaning. The subliminal war was heating up, and the streets were the jury. Meanwhile, the business side kept things tense. Shows, tours, collaborations, all turned into political chess moves. Promoters and labels had to be careful. One wrong booking, one feature, and suddenly the beef could flare in real life. Both camps understood the importance of influence. Yo Gotti's empire wasn't just CMG, it was every move he made in the streets and the industry. Gucci Mane's network was equally vast. In a game like this, alliances and loyalty were currency, and one misstep could cost more than money, it could cost credibility, influence, even safety. Then there were the public appearances. Award shows, interviews, red carpets. Everywhere they went, the cameras were watching. Side eyes, subtle gestures, offhand comments, they all became ammunition for fans and media alike. The streets noticed, the fans noticed, and even outsiders couldn't ignore the tension. Yo Gotti and Gucci Mane had mastered the art of communicating without saying too much. One look, one smirk, one posture could send a message louder than any track. And the media? They blew it up, turning moments into headlines, but the streets knew the real story. Rumors started swirling like wildfire. Old grudges resurfaced, collaborations that went wrong, missed respect, and alleged incidents that nobody could confirm. Some of it true, some of it exaggerated, but in a beef like this, perception mattered more than reality. Memphis and Atlanta heads dissected every story, and social media amplified it to a global scale. The streets had become a battlefield of information, opinion, and allegiance. Everyone had a theory, everyone had a side, and everyone was watching the next move closely. Both Yo Gotti and Gucci Mane also understood the importance of patience. React too soon, you look weak. Wait too long, you risk losing respect. It's a delicate balance, and both men had mastered it. Every track, every post, every move in public was calculated. It wasn't just about music, it was strategy, legacy, and survival in a game that punishes mistakes. The stakes were higher than ever. Loyalty within their camps was tested too. Artists, producers, and even influencers had to navigate carefully. A single misstep, a comment, a post, or a collaboration, could be misinterpreted as siding with the other. In a feud like this, perception is everything. Yo Gotti's people stayed loyal, disciplined, and strategic. Gucci Mane's circle, equally sharp, made sure every action reflected strength and influence. Behind the scenes, chess moves were being made constantly, and the streets could sense the tension rising with each passing day. Then came the cultural impact. This beef wasn't just a Memphis versus Atlanta thing, it had become a nationwide topic. Fans debated endlessly, media outlets dissected every move, and artists outside the cities felt the pressure to take sides or remain neutral. Social media exploded with commentary, memes, and breakdowns of subliminals in tracks. Every post, video, or interview became a potential message, a subtle threat, or a show of dominance. The streets and the fans were obsessed, and the attention only fueled the fire. And the music continued to escalate. Yo Gotti's verses became sharper, more pointed, targeting respect, territory, and influence. Gucci Mane's responses were equally potent, mixing lyrical prowess with Atlanta pride and legacy reminders. The subliminal war was relentless. Fans weren't just listening, they were analyzing, theorizing, and debating over who was coming out on top. Every release, every verse, every feature carried weight beyond just the charts. It was about respect, dominance, and street credibility. At this point, it wasn't just about the individual artists, it was about their empires. CMG and Gucci Mane's network represented more than just labels. They were symbols of control, influence, and power. Deals, investments, and alliances were all part of the strategy, and both sides knew the importance of every move. One wrong decision could tip the balance and change the course of the feud. Both men had built empires from scratch, and neither was willing to let that legacy be questioned or disrespected. Fans continued to pick sides, and the streets became a stage for debate. Memphis versus Atlanta, Yo Gotti versus Gucci Mane, loyalty versus legacy, it all boiled down to respect. The online world mirrored the real streets, amplifying tension and anticipation. Fans weren't just consuming content, they were invested in history being made. And every subliminal, every interview, every appearance added another layer to the saga. Listen up, this ain't just another story to scroll past. Yo Gotti vs. Gucci Mane is more than bars and beats. It's a blueprint of respect, loyalty, and the streets speaking louder than headlines ever could. If you've been watching this saga unfold, you know it ain't just about who's dropping the hardest verses or making the biggest moves. It's about legacy, pride, and empire. Every track, every post, every subtle jab tells a story, and now it's on you to catch the details, feel the tension, and understand the game these kings play. So here's the move, don't just sit back and watch, engage. Hit the comments, tell us who you ride with, break down the subliminals, and let the streets know your side. Share this with your crew, spark debates, and make sure everybody know the story from Memphis to Atlanta. Smash that like button if you feel the heat, subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter, and turn on notifications. Cause the saga of Yo Gotti vs. Gucci Mane? It ain't over, and the streets are watching. Stay tuned, stay alert, and stay loyal, cause the next move is about to drop and you're gonna wanna see it all.